Walking into a party, the hum of conversation fills the air like a familiar tune. But as you get closer, the words become unfamiliar, a symphony of references and quotes from a world you didn't witness. It's not just any language. It's the lingo of Game of Thrones, a series that has become a cultural phenomenon, leaving you in the lurch. The phenomenon is similar to what psychologist Sherry Tickle calls alone together, where individuals feel isolated despite being in a crowd, due to a lack of shared understanding. The room is alive with phrases like Valar Morghulis and winter is coming, tossed around like common currency. It's not just the words, but the context, the shared experiences, and the inside jokes that come with them. You find yourself nodding along, laughing at the right moments, trying to fit in. But it's like trying to dance to a rhythm you can't hear, a feeling of being out of sync, a phenomenon known as pluralistic ignorance, where individuals pretend to be in the know to avoid standing out. You gravitate towards the food table, a safe haven where the language is universal. The smell of spiced wine and roasted meats fills the air, a stark contrast to the alien conversation around you. You engage in small talk about the food, the weather, anything to avoid the topic of the show. It's a survival tactic, a way to conserve energy, much like the psychological concept of cognitive miserliness, where individuals avoid mental exertion to preserve resources. As the night goes on, you find yourself observing the dynamics of the group, the way they react to certain quotes, the inside jokes that have them in stitches. It's a fascinating study of human behavior, a reminder that we are all part of different tribes, each with its own language and customs. You might not be part of this particular tribe, but you're gaining a unique perspective, a reminder that not knowing something can be an opportunity for learning and growth. This observation aligns with the psychological concept of sensory processing sensitivity, where individuals who are highly sensitive to their environment tend to process information more deeply, leading to increased empathy and awareness. Performative belonging is a social phenomenon where individuals engage in activities or discussions primarily to project an image of fitting in, rather than out of genuine interest or enjoyment. This concept, akin to what psychologists call impression management, involves tailoring one's behavior to align with perceived group norms to avoid social exclusion. For those who didn't watch Game of Thrones, performative belonging might manifest in nodding along in conversations about the show's plot twists or characters, even if they haven't seen a single episode. They might laugh at jokes about winter is coming or discuss Daenerys' leadership without ever having witnessed her journey on screen. This behavior is not driven by a fear of isolation, but by a strategic understanding of social dynamics. According to Irving Goffman's dramaturgy perspective, individuals are like actors on a stage, constantly performing to create and maintain certain impressions. By engaging in these performative acts, non-viewers are not trying to deceive, but rather to navigate social interactions smoothly. They are aware that Game of Thrones has become a cultural touchstone, a topic that frequently arises in conversations, much like discussing the weather or recent sports events. Thus, they adopt a surface-level familiarity to avoid the social friction that might arise from admitting they haven't watched the show. Moreover, this performative belonging can be seen as a form of social lubrication. It allows individuals to maintain harmonious relationships and avoid potential judgment or exclusion. This aligns with the concept of social identity theory, which posits that people strive to maintain a positive self-image by aligning with groups that provide a sense of belonging. By participating in the cultural narrative around Game of Thrones, even performatively, individuals reinforce their social identities and connections. However, this does not mean they are disconnected or disingenuous. Instead, they are exercising a form of social intelligence, understanding that sometimes belonging is more about the performance than the reality. This leads us to consider the underlying motivations and the potential benefits of such performative behaviors in maintaining social cohesion. People who haven't watched Game of Thrones often find themselves in conversations where others assume a shared understanding of the show's characters, plot twists, and cultural references. This can create a sense of exclusion, as if they're missing out on a commonly understood narrative that binds others together. Yet, this feeling isn't just about a TV show. It taps into a deeper psychological concept known as the theory of mind. This theory posits that humans naturally attribute mental states, beliefs, intents, desires, emotions, knowledge, etc., to others. When someone hasn't watched a popular show, they might feel as if they're lacking the mental state others share, creating a perceived gap. But here's the twist. This perceived gap isn't a weakness, but a unique perspective. Those who haven't watched Game of Thrones often develop a keen sense of observation. They notice nonverbal cues and subtle hints that others might overlook, simply because they're not caught up in the shared narrative. This heightened awareness is akin to what psychologists call sensory processing sensitivity. Highly sensitive individuals, as they're often termed, process information deeply and thoroughly. They don't rely on collective knowledge, but instead form their own conclusions based on direct observation. This ability to think independently is a strength, not a shortcoming. It allows them to bring fresh perspectives to conversations and challenge assumptions that others might take for granted. Moreover, not watching Game of Thrones can be a form of boundary setting. In a world where media consumption is often tied to social identity, choosing not to engage with a popular show can be a way to assert individuality. This aligns with the psychological concept of self-determination theory, which emphasizes the importance of autonomy, competence, and relatedness in fostering well-being. By not succumbing to peer pressure to watch the show, individuals assert their autonomy and competence in making their own choices. This boundary setting can lead to more meaningful social interactions, as it encourages others to engage with them based on shared interests rather than a corporate narrative. It's not about being left out. It's about choosing what truly resonates with you. In the realm of human connection, there's a stark contrast between the mechanistic recitation of show theories and the genuine inquiry into a friend's emotional landscape. The script, as it were, is a phenomenon observed in many social interactions, where individuals regurgitate plot points, character arcs, and fan theories as a means of engagement. It's a safe space, a way to participate without exposing the self. This behavior aligns with the psychological concept of self-determination theory, which posits that humans have three innate psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. By reciting the script, individuals fulfill the need for competence and relatedness without venturing into the vulnerable territory of autonomy. Yet, this approach is a double-edged sword. It's a shield, deflecting personal exposure, but it's also a barrier, hindering genuine connection. It's like standing in a crowded room, shouting into a megaphone, yet never truly being heard. The script is a comfort zone, a place of low risk and low reward. It's the cognitive equivalent of eating comfort food, familiar and satisfying, but lacking in nutritional value. On the other hand, the soul is a more daring endeavor. It's the act of asking a friend, "How did you actually feel when?" It's an invitation to vulnerability, a request for emotional exposure. This approach is rooted in the philosophical ideas of existentialism, where thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre emphasize the importance of authentic engagement and personal responsibility. By asking about feelings, individuals encourage a deeper, more meaningful connection. Moreover, the soul approach is a form of active listening, a therapeutic technique that involves fully engaging with the speaker, reflecting their emotions, and validating their experiences. It's not just about hearing the words, but understanding the emotions behind them. It's like holding a mirror up to someone's soul, reflecting their feelings back at them, and saying, "First see you." This contrast between the script and the soul is not about right or wrong, but about the different ways people navigate the complex landscape of human connection. It's a delicate dance between safety and vulnerability, between competence and authenticity. You might not have realized it, but your decision to skip Game of Thrones was more significant than choosing what to have for dinner. It was an unconscious vote for authenticity, a stance against the sensory overload that has become the norm in our digital age. This refusal isn't about lacking interest, but rather a quiet rebellion against the constant stimulation that so many others willingly immerse themselves in. It's a preference for substance over spectacle, a trait that psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi would recognize as a hallmark of those who seek flow states in more meaningful pursuits. Consider the person who would rather engage in a deep conversation than binge-watch the latest series. They're not lazy, just selective. They're not antisocial, just discerning. This discernment is a form of boundary setting, a way to protect their mental space from becoming cluttered with information that doesn't resonate. It's a defense mechanism that ensures they have the mental bandwidth for what truly matters to them. This is akin to the concept of cognitive closure, where individuals strive for a firm answer to questions and an unambiguous explanation for events. Those who opt out of popular culture phenomena often do so because they haven't found a satisfying answer to the question, why should first invest my time in this? This unconscious vote for authenticity is also a way to preserve one's individuality. In a world where pop culture references are the currency of social interaction, choosing not to engage is a way to resist the homogenization of thought. It's a way to say, first am not what first consume. This is similar to the concept of identity fusion, where individuals merge their personal identity with a group identity. In this case, the group is the one that chooses not to engage. They find strength in their shared rejection of the mainstream, creating a unique bond that sets them apart. Moreover, this refusal is often a manifestation of high sensory processing sensitivity. These individuals feel things more deeply and are more easily overwhelmed by intense stimuli. They're not missing out. They're choosing to avoid the sensory bombardment that comes with popular culture. Instead, they might prefer the nuanced storytelling of a well-written novel, the intricate melodies of a symphony, or the quiet beauty of a sunset. They don't need the constant excitement of a dragon battle to feel alive. They find their flow states in the subtleties of life, appreciating the profound in the simple. When the cultural phenomenon of Game of Thrones swept through societies, it created a divide. On one side, there were those who immersed themselves in the intricate world of Westeros. On the other, there were those who chose not to partake. This choice wasn't merely about television preferences. It was a decision that carried psychological undertones. Those who didn't watch Game of Thrones didn't miss a cultural moment. They preserved their ability to have a unique one. This preservation can be tied to the concept of self-determination theory, which emphasizes the importance of autonomy, competence, and relatedness in motivating behaviors. By choosing not to engage with a widely popular show, individuals assert their autonomy, the innate need to control one's own life. Imagine walking into a room filled with people discussing the latest episode of a show you've never seen. The conversation is vibrant, filled with references and emotions you can't relate to. It's easy to feel left out, but for those who didn't watch, this scenario is a chance to observe and learn about social dynamics. They become silent anthropologists, studying the behavior of others. This aligns with the psychological trait of sensory processing sensitivity, where individuals are more attuned to their environment and process information deeply. Instead of being overwhelmed by the noise of popular opinion, they find solace in their unique perspective. This sensitivity allows them to engage in meaningful conversations on their own terms, fostering a sense of competence and relatedness. Moreover, by not watching Game of Thrones, individuals avoid the hedonic treadmill, a concept in positive psychology referring to the tendency to return to a baseline level of happiness despite significant positive or negative events. Engaging with a popular show can create temporary excitement, but it often leads to a cycle of needing more stimulation to achieve the same level of enjoyment. Those who opt out of this cycle find joy in exploring other interests, whether it's reading, hiking, or engaging in creative pursuits. This exploration leads to a richer, more fulfilling life. It's not about missing out. It's about choosing a different path, one that aligns with their values and passions. This choice empowers them, reinforcing their sense of autonomy and purpose. So, if you're one of those who didn't watch Game of Thrones, embrace it. You're not alone, and you're certainly not missing out on what truly matters: your peace, your time, and your personal growth. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing for more insights into the psychology behind everyday choices. Next time, we'll be exploring the minds of those who thrive on solitude. What makes them tick? Is it a matter of introversion, or is there more to it? Stay tuned to find out. Until then, keep choosing what's best for you.